You're lying awake again. The lights are off. The room is quiet. But your mind is louder than ever, replaying conversations, worrying about the future, criticizing your past, stuck in a loop of thoughts you can't seem to escape. This is overthinking, the modern epidemic. But it isn't new. The Stoics, ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, knew this struggle intimately, and they offered a clear, courageous, and remarkably simple cure. Let's begin by understanding what overthinking really is. It's not wisdom. It's not planning. It's not even deep reflection. Overthinking is mental noise without direction. It's thinking that doesn't lead to action, thoughts that spin in circles, scenarios that never happen, words you wish you had said, futures you fear will come. You feel like you're doing something productive, but in reality, you're doing nothing, just exhausting yourself mentally and emotionally. The Stoics would ask you, what is in your control and what is not? This was the foundational idea of Stoicism. Epictetus wrote, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." It sounds simple, but it's the cornerstone of peace. When you overthink, your mind is usually obsessing over what you cannot control. What others think, what might happen, what already happened, what could go wrong, what didn't go right. The Stoic cure begins with this clarity. You are responsible for your thoughts, actions, and attitude, not the world. So the next time your mind starts spiraling, pause and ask, is this within my control? Can I act on it now? If not, why am I feeding it energy? Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher, faced immense pressure, war, betrayal, loss. Yet in his private journal, now known as Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It wasn't just advice, it was survival. Marcus knew that a disturbed mind leads to a disturbed life, and the only way to master life is to master how we think. The Stoics taught that thoughts are like wild horses. If you don't tame them, they will trample your peace. But you don't tame them by force. You tame them through clarity and discipline. Seneca, another great Stoic, once said, "Wise suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That line alone has healed countless restless minds. Think about it. Most of what we overthink never even happens. And when pain does come, it's usually not as bad as our imagination made it. So the Stoic solution: return to the present. Not in a mystical way, but in a grounded, practical sense. Overthinking lives in the future and the past, but peace lives in the now. Marcus Aurelius said, "Confine yourself to the present. When you feel overwhelmed, come back to this breath, this moment, this next step." You don't need to solve everything. You only need to respond well to what's in front of you. The Stoics were not emotionless. That's a common misunderstanding. They weren't trying to suppress emotion. They were trying to not be ruled by it. They knew that strong emotions cloud judgment, and overthinking is often emotion dressed as logic. So how did they manage it? Through something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It means imagining what could go wrong, but with a purpose. They didn't do this to scare themselves, but to prepare. They visualized obstacles in advance so they wouldn't be shocked or devastated when they arrived. They faced their fears in the mind once, so they wouldn't have to replay them again and again. This is different from anxiety. Anxiety is when fear controls you. Premeditation is when you face fear and become stronger than it. So if you're overthinking something that might go wrong, follow the Stoic method. Ask, what's the worst that could happen? If it did, what could I do? Can I handle it? Most of the time the answer is yes. And when you realize that, the storm inside begins to settle. Now, let's talk about judgment, a key concept in Stoicism. Epictetus said, "It's not events that disturb people. It's their judgments about them." You're not disturbed because something happened. You're disturbed because of the meaning you gave it. You're overthinking not because the world is chaotic, but because your mind hasn't filtered what's essential. You get to choose what a moment means. You get to decide whether a mistake is shameful or simply a lesson. You get to decide whether silence is rejection or simply space. The Stoic practice is to pause before judgment, to ask, is this thought true? Is it useful? Is it helping me grow? If not, release it. You owe your peace to no thought that poisons it. Finally, the Stoics remind us that life is short. Memento mori. Remember, you must die, not to create fear, but perspective. If you knew your time was limited, would you still waste hours in mental loops? Would you still let a single mistake steal a whole day of peace? Probably not. So, take back your time. Take back your focus. Because every moment you spend overthinking is a moment you could spend living. The Stoic cure for overthinking isn't a hack or a mantra. It's a way of being, a commitment to live with intention, to think with purpose, to act with courage, and to accept calmly what you cannot change. You may not control your first thought, but you control what you feed. You may not silence the mind instantly, but you can direct it gently. Over time, with practice, peace becomes your default, not because life got easier, but because you got wiser. The Stoics never promised a life without pain or chaos, but they did promise this with reason, reflection, and virtue. You can remain calm, even in the storm. So tonight, when your mind begins to spiral again, pause, breathe, return to the present, and remember, the world outside may be noisy, but your soul doesn't have to be.